November of 1955, a memo was issued establishing a study committee to explore, quote, all factors which are involved in the making and implementing of foreign policy in the nuclear age, unquote. This was only a blanket of snow that covered the real subject of study, the alien question. By secret executive memorandum, in 1954, President Eisenhower had commissioned the study group to, quote, examine all the facts, lies, and deception and discover the truth of the alien question, unquote. This memorandum was only a cover that had become necessary when the press began inquiring as to the purpose of regular meetings of such important men. The study group was made up of 35 members of the Council on Foreign Relations, secret scholars known as the Jason Society. Dr. Zbigniew Brzezinski was the study director for the first 18 months. Dr. Henry Kissinger was chosen as the group's study director for the second 18 months. Nelson Rockefeller was a frequent visitor during the study.
Okay, the study was done, and a major finding of the alien study was that the public cannot be told, as it was believed that this would most certainly lead to economic collapse of the religious structure, and national panic, which would lead to anarchy. Anarchy. Secrecy thus continued. An offshoot of this finding was that if the public could not be told, then the Congress could not be told. Thus, funding for the projects and research would have to come from outside the government. In the meantime, money was to be obtained from the military budget and from the CIA confidential non-appropriated funds. Another major finding was the aliens were using humans and animals for a source of glandular secretions, enzymes, hormonal secretions, blood, and in horrible genetic experiments. The aliens explained that these actions are necessary for their survival. They stated that their genetic structure had deteriorated and that they were no longer able to reproduce. They stated that if they were unable to improve their genetic structure, their race would soon cease to exist. We looked upon their explanations with extreme suspicion. Since our weapons were literally useless against the aliens, MJ-12 decided to continue friendly diplomatic relations with them until such time as we were able to develop a technology which would enable us to challenge them on a military basis. Now this is I have to do an aside. This is 1950, I don't know, 5, and they're deciding that they're going to have to continue to negotiate this with this group that's technology is, what could it be? 5,000 years ahead. But this is the 1950s.
But further on in the text, Bill goes on to say, the aliens explained that they had created us through hybridization and had manipulated the human race through religion, Satanism, witchcraft, magic, and the occult. They further explained that they were capable of time travel, and the events would indeed come to pass. Later exploitation of alien technology by the United States and the Soviet Union, utilizing time travel, confirmed the prophecy. The aliens showed a hologram which they claimed was the actual crucifixion of Christ, which the government filmed. We did not know whether to believe them or not. Were they using genuine religions to manipulate us? Or were they indeed the source of our religions with which they had been manipulating us all along? Or was this the beginning of the genuine end times and the return of Christ, which had been predicted in the Bible? No one knew the answer.
You know, how do you argue with somebody that says they can time travel? No. I'll
Yeah.
bet you that's not going to happen. Oh, but I bet you it is. Yeah, but I can time travel.
Right, so you know whether it's
You know what's going to happen.
already happened.
What's the fun in that? On a related subject, you might want to check out podcast 109, The Alien Messiah, if you want to find out how they can, how all of the players could do that. Anyway, further on in the text, Bill takes a strange term and seems to deal with like another subject matter. He goes on to say, the symposium was held in 1957, which was attended by some of the greatest scientific minds then living. They reached the conclusion that by or shortly after the year 2000, the planet would self-destruct due to increased population and man's exploitation of the environment, without any help from God or the aliens. By secret executive order of President Eisenhower, the Jason Scholars were ordered to study this scenario and make recommendations called Alternatives 1, 2, and 3. Alternative 1 was to use nuclear devices to blast holes in the stratosphere from which the heat and pollution would escape into space. Change the human cultures from that of exploitation to cultures of environmental protection. Of the three, alternative 1, 2, and 3, this was decided to be the least likely to succeed due to the inherent nature of man and the additional damage the nuclear explosion would themselves create. Now, we know that the pollution and the wars and all that stuff is caused by the cabal. It's not people. But these people are cabal members and they're going to look out for the cabal. So they came up with alternative 2 and 3. This is alternative 2. Alternative 2 was to build a vast network of underground cities and tunnels, sound familiar, in which select representation of all cultures and occupations would survive and carry on the human race. The rest of humanity would be left to fend for themselves on the surface of the planet. And then, of course, there's alternative 3, was to exploit the alien and conventional technology in order for a select few, I wonder who that would be, to leave the Earth and establish colonies in outer space.
All three alternatives included birth control, sterilization, and the introduction of deadly microbes to control or slow the growth of the Earth's population. AIDS is only one result of these plans. There are others. It was decided, since the population must be reduced and controlled, that it would be in the best interest of the human race to rid ourselves of the undesirable elements of our society. The joint U.S. and Soviet leadership dismissed Alternative 1, but ordered work to begin on Alternative 2 and 3 virtually at the same time.
Yeah, the two alternatives that would save the inbred elites and let the rest of us go were the ones worked on. But the one that could save us all, alternative 1, didn't happen. Well, Bill again takes another turn and he jumps ahead and let me continue in the text. In 1959, the RAND Corporation hosted a deep underground construction symposium. In the symposium report, machines are pictured and described which could bore a tunnel 45 feet in diameter at the rate of 5 feet per hour. It also displays pictures of huge tunnels and underground vaults containing what appears to be complex facilities and possibly even cities. It appears that the previous 5 years of all-out underground construction had made significant progress by 1959.
The ruling powers decided that one means of funding the alien-connected and other black market projects was to corner the illegal drug market. A young, ambitious member of the Council on Foreign Relations was approached. His name is George Bush.
Now, why would they think he would get involved in this black market drug operation? Well, maybe it's because he's son of Prescott Bush, who made his fortune through heroin. He's a noted politician and also was a noted Nazi supporter.
Well, George Bush, who at the time was president and CEO of Zapata Oil, based in Texas. Zapata Oil was experimenting with the new technology of offshore drilling. It was correctly thought that the drugs could be shipped from South America to the offshore platforms by fishing boat, where it would be taken to shore by the normal transportation used for supplies and personnel. By this method, no customs or law enforcement agency would subject the cargo to search. George Bush agreed to help and organized the operation in conjunction with the CIA. The plan worked better than anyone had thought, and since expanded worldwide, and there are now many other methods of bringing the illegal drugs into the country. It must always be remembered, though, that George Bush began sale of drugs to our children. The CIA now controls all the world's illegal drug market.
The official space program was boosted by President Kennedy in his inaugural address when he mandated that the United States put a man on the moon before the end of the decade. Although innocent in its conception, this enabled those in charge to funnel vast amounts of money into black projects and conceal the real space program from the American people. A similar program in the Soviet Union served the same purpose. In fact, a joint alien United States and Soviet Union base already existed on the moon at the very moment Kennedy spoke the words. On May 22, 1962, a space probe landed on Mars and confirmed the existence of an environment which could support life. Not long afterward, the construction of a colony on the planet Mars began in earnest. Today, cities exist on Mars, populated by specifically selected people from different cultures and occupations taken from all over the earth. And this was written, of course, in 1989. And just coincidentally, today, if you believe in coincidences, on the net from the Daily Mirror, this article appeared.
Retired U.S. Marine claims he spent 17 years on Mars, protecting 5 human colonies from Martians. A former U.S. Marine has claimed he spent 17 years of his career on Mars. The ex-naval infantryman, who uses the pseudonym Captain K, says he was posted to the Red Planet to protect 5 human colonies from indigenous Martian life forms. He claims he then spent nearly 3 years serving in a secret space fleet run by a multinational organization called the Earth Defense Force, which recruits military personnel from countries including the U.S., Russia, and China.
The Earth Defense Force?
Yeah.
Men in Black, huh?
Maybe, it's crazy. I'll continue with the article. In testimony released to Exo News TV, Captain K said he was trained to fly 3 different types of space fighters and 3 bombers. He added that training took place on a secret moon base called Lunar Operations Command, Saturn's moon Titan, and in deep space. Captain K says he retired after a 20-year tour of duty describing a retirement ceremony